Welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn Podcast. I am your host, Michael Grace. Today, we're going to be talking about taking your business to the next level, especially if you're a coach or a consultant. My guest today, Nicky Billou, is an author. He runs an academy, and we are just going to kind of really talk about what he does and some tips and techniques that he has for really helping you elevate yourself and going from a solo entrepreneur to getting a greater impact. So he's a #1 bestselling author of the book Finish Line Thinking: How to Think and Win Like a Champion, The Thought Leader's Journal, A Fable of Life, and The Power of Connecting: How to Activate Profitable Relationships by Serving Your Network. He's in demand and highly inspirational speaker to corporate audiences such as RBC, Lululemon, and Royal LePage, and Top Star Media. He's an advisor and confidant to some of the most successful and dynamic entrepreneurs in Canada. I feel like I should say A at the end of that, but he's co-founder of the eCircle Academy. So if you're following along at home and you want to see like what is this eCircle Academy, you can go to circleacademy.com and pull that up while we're chatting, and you can follow along. He runs a year-long mastermind and educational program working with coaches, consultants, corporate trainers, clinic owners, realtors, mortgage brokers, service-based entrepreneurs, positioning them as authorities within their niche. He's the creator of the Thought Leader, Heart Leader designation. And as the host of the #1 podcast in the world on thought leadership, the Thought Leader Revolution, Nicky has interviewed over 300 of the world's top thought leaders, such as Chris Hadfield, who's an astronaut, George Ross, Kathy Ireland. That's awesome. John Maxwell, lots of really cool names that he's had an opportunity to talk to. So, Nicky, thank you for taking the time and joining us here on the podcast.
Michael, thanks for having me, man. It's an honor to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit about your story and how you came to write all the books, and you're essentially serving your customers with the Circle Academy and such. Like, how did that come to be your passion and your platform?
Michael, thanks for asking that question. It's a fantastic question. So I'm originally an immigrant from Iran in the Middle East. I'm a Christian Assyrian from Iran, and my late father, he was a very far-sighted man. He could see several moves ahead in life. And he saw when the Islamic Revolution happened and I was just a boy, that this was not going to be a great place to raise his family anymore. So he took us, God rest his soul, and brought us to Canada. And I'll tell you something. It was just an incredible, incredible move. I thank God every day that I get to live in a free country, that I get to live in a place where, my religion and my ethnic background are considered to be acceptable, more than acceptable, or celebrated, and everybody's great about that. There's a lot of people in North America these days that have what I call first world problems. Like, oh my God, Canada, the United States, these places are so intolerant, they're so racist, they're so terrible. Dude, you know what you're talking about? These are the most tolerant, wonderful places on the face of the planet. When I was 11 years old, someone threw a Molotov cocktail through our living room window with a note on it that said, "Die, Christian scum." But for the grace of God Almighty, that would have exploded and you and I would not be speaking here today. So I just want to say, first and foremost, we are champions for freedom, for free expression, free enterprise, and for the Canadian, the American, the Western way of life. And I believe in that. I believe in that strongly. My father, my late father, he was an entrepreneur. He's the greatest man I ever know. He was a man with flaws like all of us. But this is a man who uplifted people. He bought people houses, cars, and apartments. You heard me right. He bought them houses, cars, and apartments because he could, because he had the wherewithal to do it. And I worship my dad. I looked up to him and I go, wow, this is the greatest man. This man, this entrepreneur, he works hard, he makes money, he uplifts, he helps people. I wanted to be like him. And every time I meet an entrepreneur, I see my father. I see a good man. I see a good woman who's ready to uplift the world, who's ready to make the world a better place. through employees, through the services and products they offer to the world, and through, frankly, having the courage to dream and inspiring other people to do it. That, my friend, essentially is my story. What I'm all about is I serve the entrepreneur. I serve the man and woman who have a dream. Maybe everybody around them is knocking them down. Maybe they're a little worried. Oh my God, am I going to come across as like pushy or salesy or like I have commission breath? And I'm here to help them shift that and reframe that from selling and being slimy to serving and being an advocate. And I'm an amazing person when it comes to teaching people how to do that. I help good people who should be getting business from other good people who are hurting, who need their help, to be able to go out there and have an authentic conversation and help them, rather than avoid doing that and have some charlatan marketer, some sizzle seller come and grab that person's business and deliver nothing, deliver zero to that person. I am proud to have helped 11 men and women add 7 to 8 figures to their business, between 1 and 38.5 million to their business, and another 60 plus add 100K to 700K to their business. That juices me up, brother. That gets me up. That gets me going. That's why I do what I do.
I love it. You can just see the passion, right? Which I love a couple points that you made, right? You talked about changing it from sales to serving, which I think, if you truly look at what you're offering and you're providing a value, right? You're providing something of value to your consumers. That sale becomes a lot easier, right? Because you're really serving them. You're solving a problem for them. And I always challenge any entrepreneur or business owner. I'm like, what problem are you solving for your customers? And sometimes they can't answer. They're like, I don't know. I'm just trying to make money. I'm like, oh, you're in the wrong space, right? That's the wrong answer. You got to be thinking about what you're doing. I love, if you watch, again, if you go to ecircleacademy.com and you see the video that's there, it's a fitness owner, Kalam Shah. And he tells a great story, right? But he talks about how his business was doing fine, but it wasn't like growing, right? It was, and then you really helped him move to online. You really helped him like expand his voice, right? And better serve a wider audience, which is really cool. A lot of times I think our entrepreneurs, they're like, I don't know how to do this, right? And they just, or they don't become an entrepreneur because they don't know how to do this, right? And so to have somebody who can coach them through it and raise them up and help them grow is really cool.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I want to say to you this, right? I think that there's a lot of people out there right now that are they really want to believe. They're in a space where, they're maybe working very hard. They're burning out. Sales aren't coming the way they ought to be coming for them. And maybe a bunch of these people sales aren't coming at all. They've been on a plateau for the longest time. And what I say to them is, listen, you're a good person. You deserve good things to happen for you. You just need to learn how to have an honest conversation with the person sitting across from you in such a way that it's going to touch, move, and inspire them. If you come from your heart, it's going to work for you. And you said this, business is all about solving acute problems for profit. That's all business is, solving acute problems for people for profit. Business is not a numbers game. Business is a people game. You've got to be about making a difference for your fellow man and woman. But hey, you also absolutely need to focus on where they're hurting. If you're thinking about talking about your program, look at my great program. It does X, it does Y, it slices, it dices, it makes breakfast. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about you and your special program. They care about themselves and their problems. I never talk about my program until the very end, and I just talk about it in a very brief, perfunctory way. All I talk about is you. I go, Michael, so what's the biggest issue in your business? Okay, you're working too hard. You make good money, but you're working too hard. You're working way too much for way too little money. Is that it? Yeah, I got it. Your wife's upset with you because you're never home. You're always, even though you work from home, you're always not there, not available to her. Wow, what's that like? You're scared. You're feeling like you might lose your marriage. That's got to suck. What's that like? I get deep into that pain. I salt the wound. And then I go, Michael, how much longer do you want to tolerate this crap? Oh, you don't want to? You ready to solve it? Are you ready right now to take action to solve it? Because I'm clear we can solve this for you. Right now, are you ready to act to solve it? Notice I didn't say, are you ready to buy my program? Notice I didn't say that. Notice it didn't come in there because that's not important. Are you ready to take action now to solve your problem? And if the answer to that is yes, well, obviously the way that I recommend you do so is through this system that I've developed that works and has an incredible track record. And the investment is X. You ready to take that step right now? Great. What's your credit card number? That's how I roll. I don't go into, now they may ask me, so tell me more about your program. I'll tell them, but it'll be brief. My program does this, this, and this, and this. Well, I need to know a lot more information. I go, let me ask you a question. Do you need to know how a doctor's going to set the bone in your arm when you've broken it? You really don't, do you? Because you know what? The doctor doesn't need to tell you that. The doctor needs to set the bone. You either trust me that I'm honest and I'm going to do a good job with you, or you think I'm another charlatan marketer. If you think I'm another charlatan marketer, let's end the call right now. Because I know I'm not, but hey, you're not a good judge of character. That's what I'll tell you right now. But if you do trust me, then stop asking me how I'm going to perform bone surgery. Let me perform bone surgery.
I love it. The term charlatan marketer, how do people discern that, right? Like in trying to find, it's just like you're trying to find a home service, right? You're trying to find someone to help you with your business or whatever. There's all these people out there. Everyone says they can help. How do you discern like who legitimately has the passion, the fire, the skills, and the tools to help versus these guys that are all just a big charade?
Well, that's a great question. And, I wish the answer was simple and easy, but it isn't. It isn't. It's neither simple nor it's easy. Number one is you ought to go see who you know who's done their program. Don't just look at the best testimonials they have on the web because, those are great. But, you want to see if that person's real, number one. Number two is if you know someone who's done their program, that's always good. Go talk to that person, right? Go talk to that person. And you got to also go a lot with your gut. Your gut's going to tell you if this is a good human being standing in front of you or if it's not. And if they're very sincere, but they don't have a lot of good sales techniques, but they're very real and they're very sincere, trust that. That's a good human being. That's someone who can help you out. But if they're just some brilliant sizzle seller who's just got all the charm, all the right things to say, I just worry about that. I'd worry about that. And track records matter, man. Track records matter. The other day, I'm a basketball fan, and there's a former basketball player named JJ Redick, and he was on social media saying, the old guard of the NBA, they weren't that good because they played with plumbers and firemen. And he talked about the great Bob Cousy, who was the first real superstar of the Boston Celtics and helped them win a whole bunch of championships in the 50s and 60s. And he said, Cousy isn't as good as Chris Paul. And I'm like, wow, did he really just say that? Did he really just say that, right? He did, right? And then Jerry West, the logo, the NBA's logo, right? Guy with the third highest scoring average of all time, 27 points a game, comes out and says, hey, I like JJ. JJ's a great guy, but you know what? He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And at some point, how well did JJ do in the league? Oh, he scored 12 points a game. Well, some points, at some level, numbers matter, right? So basically telling him, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about, right? So that's what I'm talking about. You're looking for the Jerry Wests to listen to and follow. You're not looking for the JJ Redicks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We talked a little bit about folks that are either in a business and trying to grow it, or we're in this great resignation where a lot of people are like, hey, it's the time to mix this up. And maybe I don't want to work 10, 12 hours a day for peanuts. And I want to go out and pursue my passion and start my own business. And for a lot of them, that's moving out of their comfort zone, right? Like they like the 8 to 5, and I just show up and I take my 1 hour lunch, and how do we help people take that leap, right? How do we help people move out of that that comfort zone where they're just not growing or they're not pursuing their passion?
So listen, man, at the end of the day, it's a decision every individual's got to make for themselves. But you got to understand this, right? You can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Mm-hmm. If somebody is interested in having a better life, they're going to self-select. And you want the self-selectors. You don't want the people whose arms you got to twist. You want the self-selectors. The self-selectors will let you know, I'm ready to start my own business. I want to live a better life. I want to live life as the best version of myself. Can you help? Those are the people you want, not the guy who goes, well, I need to think about it. I'm going to have a seance with my ancestors. I'm going to have a conversation with my dog and see what he thinks. No, you want the people who are like, I'm in, like Flynn, let's roll. The concept of somebody wanting to take action to make their dream come true is an important and powerful one. I don't do dabblers and I don't do hobbyists. I'll ask everybody. I'll ask you, Michael. Hey, Michael, how's it going? What are you doing? What's your business all about? Are you happy? Is it going the way you want it to be? Yeah, great. No? You ready to do something about it? No? All right, great. Yeah, let's talk. That's the Nicky Billou qualification system, which I recommend everybody undertake. Do not waste your time with dabblers and hobbyists.
Yeah. I think so many times people feel like, right, dabblers and hobbyists are going to be something for them. And maybe I always say your net's not wide enough, right? If you're having to piddle around there with those people, you're not casting enough input, right? You don't have a funnel big enough to bring you the people that aren't the hobbyists, right? The people that are interested. So I just love that you just put out there, like, and you still shouldn't waste your time with them, right? If they're wasting your time, like, just, spend your time casting a wider net and getting more people to come to you than perhaps, trying to convert those people and making something that they're not. I went last night. I signed up for personal training, right? And I walked into the gym and I said, hey, I'm really interested in blah, blah. And she goes, I can read you like a book. I know you're going to sign up for personal training. Do you want 1 or 2 times a week, right? Because I was not a hobbyist. I was not a dabbler. I went there with intent. I knew it was going to cost me. It was going to be an investment in myself and in my health. And I was stuck at a plateau and I wanted to take it to the next level, right? It's the same thing with your business, right? When you're looking around, all these people surf YouTube and they surf all this shit. And I'm like, have you consumed enough information? Have you, because you haven't done anything. All you've done is just move. I call it moving vertical, right? You're just moving vertical and you're like, oh, Nicky says this and so says that and so says this. That doesn't change your business. Commit to something and go vertical, right? So go horizontal till you find somebody who you think can help you and change your business and change your life, and then go vertical with that person, because your life doesn't change. Nothing changes about your business, your life, your career, your marriage, pick anything, your health, until you go vertical with somebody.
That's so brilliantly said. Many years ago, I used to be one of the top fitness coaches in North America. I had a brand called the CEO Health Coach. I worked with Olympic gold medalists. I worked with top level CEOs. I worked with billionaires. I worked with top gurus. One of my clients was Robin Sharma, the best-selling author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Robin sold 15 million copies of his books, and he runs programs for top-level organizations and individuals all over the world. Robin taught me something. And what he taught me is that you need to always be investing in yourself. It's the best investment you're ever going to make. Better investment than real estate. Better investment than stocks and bonds. Better investment than anything. And he said, if you ever want to double your income in any given year, triple your investment in personal and professional development. So, Michael, let's say you're making $150,000 a year right now. I don't know what you're making, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say you're making that much money. And let's say you really want to make $500,000 a year, right? You don't want to make $150,000, but you want to work less. You actually don't want to work more than you're working now. You want to work less. And let's say that was your goal. if you're not investing in yourself this year, tripling your investment in you, there's no way you're going to hit that goal. It's not going to happen by osmosis. You got to go, okay, I'm tripling my investment in me right now to figure out how to do this. I'm going to go do a program on how to stand out, personal branding. I'm going to do a program on how to be able to sell effectively from the heart. I'm going to do a program that's going to show me how to get a ton more leads. And I'm going to be a part of a community of people who think like I do and are good people and all that. I'm in, like Flynn. Yeah, all right. So you know what? I gotta shell out 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever the number is. Done. You do that, you're going to hit that number. You don't do that, you won't hit that number. Impossible. No way, no how.
I love it. It's just amazing to me that, the number of people that that don't want to invest, right? That old saying, you get nothing for nothing, right?
Nothing for nothing.
And people don't want to invest, but they want the result, right? Everybody wants the end of the journey without doing the work. And it doesn't come that way, right? Like people have spent time and money and effort to build these programs, right? To share their experience, and that has value. And it's almost insulting when people, look at programs and such and go, why can't I just get it for free? Well, why can't you go to the grocery store and get a thing of eggs for free? Why can't you go to the grocery store and just get milk, right? Yeah. Like cows are everywhere. It doesn't work that way. You mentioned something about personal brand. Talk to me a little bit about that, because you talk a lot about personal brand through being a thought leader.
Yes.
And I think, being a podcast host, right? I get let me tell you, being a podcast host, you don't make any money being a podcast host. It's about giving back, building your brand, giving to the community, and becoming a thought leader in a space that people respect and align with.
Well, I'll tell you something. I think podcasting can make you money. It's certainly helped make me a lot of money and a lot of my clients. But let's come back to the branding thing. Well, look, let me draw a distinction between an expert and a thought leader. An expert's someone who knows something. In this day and age, experts are a dime a dozen. They're not particularly rare or valuable. But a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. Thought leaders are very rare and valuable. They're the go-to person in their space, right? An expert is like a cover band. A thought leader plays original music. You want to be a thought leader because people are going to go, I want to listen to the original music that Michael Grace has to offer. And you do that, brother, you're going to be in great shape. But if you don't, you won't. You're going to look and sound like everybody else. Let's say you're a coach and someone, needs to help losing weight. You go, okay, I can help you do that. Then there's someone else who has a relationship problem. Oh, I can help you with that too. And someone else wants to grow their business. Well, I can help you do that too. I'm like the Ginsu knife. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Nobody wants that. Like, listen, let's say you had heart trouble. Would you want a general surgeon to work on you or a heart specialist?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point, right? So we teach people how to get their innate expertise out of them, how to get a message that solves a particular problem for a particular group of people. And we teach them how to do that in such a way that their innate expertise can be turned into IP. Now, that process takes time, but the process of monetizing it doesn't have to take time, right? And that's what we do with people. So as an example, Callum Shaw, whose video you saw on the field, he was a coach, fitness coach, trained people. He would take anybody with a wallet and a pulse, But he doesn't do that anymore, right? Callum Shaw now works with dads, professional dads. And like he's probably doing other things too. But when we start working with him, he started working with professional dads who had dad bods. He five-folded his income, bro. Five-folded his income by doing that. And we taught him how to do that. It wasn't difficult, but he had no idea how to talk to those people, how to position himself so he came across as credible. So once he learned how to do that, he was great. And look, Callum wrote a very heartfelt note to us, right? And in the note, he said that when he came to us, he was at his wit's end. He'd been treading water for a long time, and he had to borrow money from his girlfriend to pay his rent.
Wow.
You think about that, right? And then, he said, okay, screw it. I'm investing in this. I'm gonna hit my line of credit. And he did. And Callum said, I need this to work. And I said, all right, man, show up to the calls, do what we tell you to do, and it'll work. And to his credit, that's what happened. But for me, Callum is a great man. He's a heart-driven dude. That's why I liked helping him. Now I had another client, and she had a terrific success story. She was the head of one of the largest personal development organizations in Canada. And she brought in a partner and it didn't work out. So she left and she's trying to figure out what was next. And then she came to us, did our program, and then signed up to be with us for a year. And she had great success. In her first month, she did 10K. In her second month, she did 12K. In her third month, she did 18K. In her fourth month, she did $62,200 in a single month, in her fourth month. So she lives in Ottawa. I live in Toronto, about 5 hours drive apart. I have a son. At the time, my son was 12. He's 16 now. And he had a soccer tournament in Ottawa. So I went to Ottawa and I called her up and I knew she had a son my son's age. I said, hey, listen, my son and I were here for a tournament. On our way out of the city, would you like to get together for lunch with your son? And she goes, yeah, that'd be great. So we did that, spent an hour or so together, and it was a lovely time. We went home. And then a few weeks later, we had our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshop event. And I asked the people in our group who were members to tell the new people why this was a great community for them, right? Because like I said, I don't do my own pitching. I have them do it for me. And she says, I'm going to do it. She jumps up on stage and she immediately starts to bawl. And I'm like, why is she crying? Why is she crying? But she said, Nicky, you don't know why. You didn't know this, but when you and your son came to Ottawa, and inside I'm just the whole time going, why is she crying? What did I do wrong? You know what I mean? She said, you didn't know this, but my son asked me, Mommy, who are we going to meet? She said, I said to him, we're going to meet Nicky Billou and his son. And he went, oh, Mom, are we going to get to meet the man who saved our family? And I went,
Wow.
whoa. I started to cry. And in between sobs, she says, you didn't know this, but I hadn't worked for 18 months. I had no income. My family was about to lose our house. My husband and I were about to separate. Wow. And I just bawled and bawled and bawled, and we hugged. There were 8 people in the room there, and we have our upsell into our year-long program is a big ticket item, right? It is not a small ticket item. And there were 2 people in the room who said they were not interested. They know there was going to be upsell, and they both told me, we are not going to be buying this, okay? So just want you to know,
yeah,
we're going to set you up so you don't get disappointed. I'm like, right, dude, whatever. One in particular was really insistent. Everyone bought, and that guy was the first person to race up to the front, snatch up the paperwork, sign and put down his money. And he came to me and he said, you son of a bitch. I ended up buying. And he said, I'm getting emotional just trying to tell you this, but he said to me that every other time he's gone to these events, he feels that people don't give a shit. They just want his money. And he said, it's pretty clear I wasn't that kind of guy. That's all he said. He signed up and he walked out.
Yeah.
8 people bought. I did nothing. I didn't pitch.
Yeah.
That's the power of giving a good gosh darn about your fellow man and woman. One of my mentors, Mark von Musser, talks about the 3 C's. You got to be curious about what's going on over there. You got to care, right? You got to show some compassion. And you do that, you're golden.
I love it.
Yeah.
The power of emotion, right? And a lot of people, I do a lot of executive interactions, coaching, mentoring, and a lot of them are like, I almost cried. And I'm like, I don't know when having an emotion is become such a bad thing, right? To me, it's okay to be human. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to tell a story. I tell stories about some stuff that we've done in healthcare, and every time I do it, it gives me goosebumps, right?
Yeah.
that means I did something good, right?
Amen,
That
brother.
means that it's moving. You want to touch people at that level. That's the power of the human connection, right? A lot of people I see, they're like, oh, I'm trying to do a TEDx speech and blah, blah, blah. I want to be on some big stage. That's about you, not about the audience. It's never going to be
Yeah.
great. It might be good, but it ain't great. It ain't going to move people. People aren't going to leave there crying, right? What happened in that scenario is just such a powerful story, right? And the fact that you still get emotional when you talk about it, like, right? That's the magic. That's the secret sauce right there.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Amen. Yeah, you got to care, and that's what we're all about. We curate a pretty special group of people, and I'm very, very grateful that God has given us a chance to run with these folks.
That's awesome. I keep going back to Callum, and right, he was kind of trying to be this. You mentioned a little bit about what he did, right? Like he went from being like this fitness coach, and he narrowed his niche, right? He said, I'm going to coach dad bod people. And as soon as you said that, I was like, I'm going to find this dude and reach out, right? Because I'm like, hello, got the dad bod, right? Like I sit
Yeah,
way
yeah,
too damn much all day long.
yeah.
Um, and I'm like, wow, that's just so powerful, right? And because he did that, like before, I was like, okay, he's just a fitness trainer. I just signed up for a fitness trainer. Who cares? They're all fitness trainers. And then you said this guy specializes in dad bods, and I'm like, ooh, I got to talk to this guy, right? It created a
Right.
motivation in me just by you saying that he narrowed his niche, which is probably, if I could jump to the ending, it's probably like how he was so successful in blowing up his business, I'm sure, among
You
other
got it.
things. But like narrowing that niche and not trying to be everything, the Ginsu knife to everybody. People think like I've got to be wider to cast a bigger net, and sometimes that's the wrong way to go.
Amen, brother. Amen. Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I love it. Now you don't have to pitch. See, look at this. This is awesome. Um, so how do you help like what is the process like, I guess, when folks are like, okay, I'm interested in eCircle Academy, like I get this, I like this, I want to find out more, like what does that process look like do they just go to the website, do they schedule the success
Yeah.
call, do they get to talk to you, or do sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I love Nicky, oh, I scheduled a call and now I'm talking to Bob's not Nicky,
Well, at
like
the
how does that
moment,
go?
I'm still doing the calls.
Yes.
The there will be a time where that'll be impossible for me to do all the calls. Like I have friends in the space. You cannot do 200 calls a month. It's impossible. It's just it's
Yeah. Understood.
so. But right now, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer when it comes to all things related to enrollment. Right, so all the calls go through me, and I'm excited to do that. The we call it the eCircle Success System, and there's 4 steps to it. Step 1 is you book the call, and we have the call. What happens in the call is we have a very direct, honest conversation about you, your business, what's working, what's not working, what the impact of what's not working is on you, on the people you care about, on your psyche, on your clients, on the people that should be working with you that aren't. Like we just go deep into that, right? And then we in that same success call, we ask you why it's important for you to achieve success. And we ask you to give us a number, right? Like, what is the number? Like, I know it's not about the money, but at the same time, it's how you keep score. And we want to know what that represents to you, right? Like, someone's making $5,000 a month and they want 25 grand a month. Why? 25 grand a month will allow them to, buy their dream home in Sarasota, Florida, as an example. 25 grand a
Sure.
month will allow them to send their children to private school, or homeschool them, et cetera. Like we get deep into what all that is. And I qualify them, and I just wonder, are they a good person? Do I like them? Do I want to hang out with them? Do I want to spend time with them? Are they, do they do good work, right? Are they making the world a better place because of what they do? Excuse me. Can I get behind what they're trying to do for the people they love?
Mm-hmm.
And are they serious? Are they ready to act now? Like, because if the answer to all those are not yes, then I'm going to gracefully find a way to exit the call as soon as that becomes obvious to me, right? But if the answer to everything is yes, then I'm going to say, look, are you ready to solve this problem right now? And for those that say yes, then I'll make them an offer. And, out of this well-curated group, we've got a pretty good ratio of those people saying yes. Then they sign up for our 3-day branded thought leader immersion workshop. And we do those 4 times a year. And prior to that workshop, we also have a series of pre-workshop, online workshop and coaching that we have people do. So the moment they sign up is like, they don't have to wait till however long it is till the thing happens. We get to work right away. The coaching gets done. We set them up. And my favorite success story is that somebody within a month of signing up, before they even came to the 3-day event, 5-folded their investment. Like, that's my favorite success story of all time. Like, they just, they were like, okay, let's get to work. Come on, I'm ready. And what are you going to do? Like, no, you have to wait. No, let's go. Let's make it happen, right? So that's good. And then once they've done that, they're going to learn a methodology that's going to help them dial in their message, stand out as a thought leader, and they're going to implement it and go forward. So that's step 4. Now, here's what I'm also going to say to you, right? The 3-day workshop will deliver a lot of value, and there is an ROI for that. And it's step 1. Like, we say to anybody that we work with, truly, for you to reap all the benefits of this, it's a 3-year process, right? We have this model, this visual model based on the work of Matt Church from Australia, that's based on belt levels, like white belt, yellow belt, like for martial arts, because Matt was a martial artist. And each $10,000 a month in income is an additional belt level. So white belt is $10K a month, yellow belt's 20, et cetera. And black belt is $60K plus a month, like 2nd Dan, 3rd Dan, 4th Dan, blah, blah, blah. We say that wherever you are in your practice, you can be a black belt practitioner, $60K a month plus, within 3 years, 1,000 days. Like the JFK presidency, right? 1,000 days. Famous book by Ted Sorensen, who was his press secretary, right? 1,000 days. So 1,000 days or less will get you from wherever you are to $720,000 a year, $60K a month. And what I say to people is, would you be willing to invest 3 years and $100,000 over a 3-year period to get to at least $500,000 to $1 million, $2 million a year in perpetuity? Now, what's the answer if you're a smart business person? The answer is yes, right? Of course you would. That's like a no-brainer investment, right? And the challenge becomes, who are the people who are really business people, and who are the people who are dabbler hobbyists that go, oh, that's a lot of money. Well, depends on what you mean by a lot of money. Now, if you spent that $100,000 to, I don't know, buy yourself the most tricked out car you possibly can, yeah, you're right. You just spent that money. You're never going to see it back. But if you invested $100,000 in growing your income to $500,000, $750,000, $1 million a year, that was a smart move. Really smart move.
Yeah. It's that old, I use it all the time. If I say, hey, if you give me $5 and a year from now, I'll give you $10, it's 100% return. You aren't getting 100% return in a year anywhere else, right? You're going to take that deal. All we're doing is multiplying the math, right?
Exactly.
To me, what you just explained is the difference between, the charlatan marketers, the fly-by-nighters that have this promise, and they're like, yeah, you give us all your money and then instantly you get this reward. And again, to my point of, you have to do the work, right? It takes time. It's growth, it's business, it's a process, it's investment, both in you and your business, with a partner, with a coach, going through the steps. So one of the ways that I ferret out the charlatan marketers is, do they have a program? Does it make sense? Does it take time? Because sadly, there is no silver bullet for an instant return on investment. It isn't out there.
There
We'd
isn't.
all be doing it, right?
There isn't. And people can uh, implement this and make a wonderful sale quickly. I want you to know that we had a fellow, his name's Matt. He came in and did our program back in 2017. Matt, it took him 6 months to get it, man. He was just like, he was just not getting it, okay? But then it clicked. We sat with him, a bunch of us, and we helped him really figure it out, right? Like we spent 2 hours with him until it just landed for him. And then he said, okay, I've got an appointment tomorrow morning. I'm going to be late. I'm going to be pitching this sales VP. And in 18 minutes, he sold him a $38,000 package with what finally clicked for him. So it can be that quick. Mm-hmm. And it can take you frustrating long months of trying shit and having it not work before you figure it out. The question is, are you willing to be bad before you're good? Are you willing to suck before you're a master? Every master was once a disaster. If you come into the game and you have not been good at sales, you have not been good at business, and you're expecting that in a week it's going to turn around, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. But if you're willing to come in and say, I'm not here with a time limit in mind, I'm here with a process and a result in mind, then you're going to do very, very, very well.
Awesome. Well, Nicky, you've covered a ton. The best way for them to get a hold of you, again, is through the website. In the upper right hand of the website, there's schedule a success call. And you can do that and get to talk to Nicky directly, it sounds like, which is kind of cool, right? You've also got a podcast. We didn't really plug the podcast. I love to plug my fellow podcast hosts, which is also available through that website. You can just go there and click on podcast and you'll see the latest episodes and such. Thank you for spending time here with us talking about how to grow your business and how to build success. But really, thank you for picking this up as a torch and your passion to really go out in the universe and help people, right? I mean, some of the stories you shared are moving, and it takes good people to help good people.
Amen, brother. Thank you so much for bringing me on the show. It's a real honor. I love coming on shows. It's one of my favorite things to do. It always lights me up.
I love it. Your passion for your purpose is transparent. So it's great to have you.
Thanks, brother. God bless you.
Bless you.